Many business leaders struggle with marketing because they were never taught what good marketing truly is. Tamara Ceman is a marketing expert with over 16 years of running teams of all sizes, and she's going to help break it down for us today.
We see a rise of distrust in marketing because it's very ambiguous. And as the distrust gets worse or continues to progress towards the state of irreparable damage, I'm worried that a lot of companies are going to lose business because you're trying to drive a car on two wheels instead of four. The AI hype, everybody's like, oh, we are going to replace everything with AI now, but that's not how it works. And unfortunately, some businesses are learning it the hard way. The act of promotion is a part of marketing. It is not marketing as a whole. Just doing the visible side of marketing without the invisible side nailed down is kind of doodling on the pages and thinking that you're creating art. No, you're doodling on the pages.
Oh, hello. It's over 90 degrees, and we're here to talk marketing. Today's guest is Tamara Ceman, and she's an expert marketer who's helped businesses of all sizes start their departments, grow their departments, and figure it all out. So we're going to break it down from the basics today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. There's no better reason to sweat than over marketing.
The room I'm into, I don't know how to do like fans with I don't know if this picks up fans. So I sweat every episode. I can't.
Oh
You'll see.
no.
It's cute.
Okay, yeah. I actually so this mic does not pick up background noise. I have my air conditioning on, blowing pretty hard. So yeah. Hopefully you won't see sticky stains on me.
I can't hear it at all. Maybe my AC could be on right now.
We can test it.
Yeah.
That's the basis of every good marketing. Have a hypothesis and test it.
This is a great segue.
Hmm.
Why are we here today? What are we talking about?
Oh, we have so much to talk about. And thank you so much for the beautiful intro. You hit the nail on the head. I have been in marketing for 16 years now, and I want to say, like, beside PTSD, I definitely have a lot of aggregated experience that can hopefully help people who are starting or scaling or they are finding themselves in a very awkward pit within the business, whether it's kind of like you hit a plateau and you don't know really where to go next. Figure out the next step. So that's what I'm doing with my consulting service, but that's also what I do a lot for free.
You're sharing. You're helping the
Yes,
world become a better place with better marketing.
I'm a little bit of a marketing hippie. I do believe that we as marketers, if we enable people to have this basic but core knowledge about marketing, that actually we're helping the entire communities because small businesses and medium business size businesses are the thing that drives community forward. And yeah, paint me green and call me a hippie. I absolutely love doing it.
So for the past few years, you've noticed a shift in maybe not a shift, but you've uncovered something with how business
Oh,
leaders are looking at marketing.
yes, yes, absolutely.
What have you discovered?
So I think a little bit of a context. I predominantly work in software as a service businesses, and I see this industry as a little bit of a crucible for trends because trends start and they burn beautifully and then die within SaaS before it even propagates to other industries. And and I've been in this business for 16 years. Most of it I spent in tech. And then over the last 10 years, I started noticing a very disturbing to me, where when you're speaking to especially new founders who are kind of coming into the industry with this brilliant idea and they want to start the business. And when you talk to them about marketing, their just face goes blank. They don't understand what you're talking about. They don't really care what you're talking about. And they are very disinterested. They kind of feel like, oh, shit, somebody's going to just pitch slap me now with services or whatever. So they kind of tune out of even listening about marketing. So I started feeling that companies that are making a good buck are the companies that are making the right marketing hire at the right time and they have the marketing sitting at the right table, right? The grown-ups table, work with engineering, work with product. So you can apply that to any other industry, and the same is true. We see a rise of distrust in marketing because it's very ambiguous and it's getting worse, honestly. And companies are not going to be better off with it, with this inherent distrust. And as the distrust gets worse or continues to progress towards the state of irreparable damage, I'm worried that a lot of companies are going to lose business, and the businesses are just going to go bust because you're trying to drive a car on two wheels instead of four, essentially.
What
So I've started kind of peeling the onion to understand why the hell is this happening, because it hurts me, right? It hurts every marketer in the room. And I found a couple of common patterns happening. And the common patterns are, first, people are starting businesses with less and less previous business experience. Maybe they were employed somewhere, but not necessarily in a decision making position.
Mm.
So they're coming in without business acumen. They don't have any type of business training, which would cover marketing and where it sits within the organization. And the third is, a lot of them, unfortunately, have crossroads with marketers that are not amazing. So as marketers, as a unofficial union of crazy people called marketers, we need to own that, and we need to take responsibility for what has been happening within industry. So those are the three core pillars that I'm noticing right now.
what was the first one?
So the first one was just starting the business without previous business experience.
And do you think AI is the reason for that, or what's the reason that folks are just diving in these days?
No, no, no. So funny enough, I think that AI marketers have been one of the early adopting verticals of AI. We've always been playing with different tools. One of the first type of tools that hit the market that were what we now call AI were things like Jasper, which was called Jarvis, which allows you to create copy. Copy AI was one of them. So marketers were always kind of at the break or at the cutting edge of discovering these tools, which is so funny because also we were the first ones that were impacted by the AI hype, right? Because everybody's like, oh, we are going to replace everything with AI now, but that's not how it works. And unfortunately, some businesses are learning it the hard way. But I think that what's happening with the overhyping of AI is actually one of the symptoms of the problem that I mentioned, where people don't understand what marketing is, where it fits into the organization, and they are making a lot of different assumptions, right? They have this wrong picture of what marketing is, and they think that that very shallow perception of theirs can be replicated with AI, or just outsourcing everything to a virtual assistant, or now AI virtual assistants, you know. But the truth is that they only kind of apply to the visible side of marketing, typically, not the invisible side of marketing that actually is the business building, the business stabilizing side of marketing. So it's kind of just like throwing dry spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks. It almost never does, unless your wall is
That's like a
sticky, which is
sticky
a
wall.
different problem.
So I'm going to do a choose your own adventure here because you just raised
Sure.
two really fun points.
Ooh.
One, do we want to go down what's this mistrust in marketing about first, or do we want to
Mhm.
define what is marketing's real role first?
I would say let's do first explanation what is marketing, and then we can retroactively fit that distrust.
So, what is marketing? What's its role? What is and isn't it?
Yes. So the easiest way to explain marketing, especially if you don't have previous experience with working with marketing, is that marketing has two sides to it. It has the invisible side and it has the visible side of marketing. The invisible side of marketing is that thing that overlaps a lot with your business planning. So all of the audience researches, strategy, figuring out the product market fit, figuring out go to market strategies, that is the invisible side of marketing, right? So I call it your business plan's twin. And that invisible side of marketing actually fuels the visible side of marketing. And that is all of the channels that you use for distribution, the content creation, the social media, the podcast. That's the visible side of marketing. And it doesn't function without a properly set invisible side of marketing. So
Mm.
it's kind of like the core, the nucleus of your marketing strategy. So when we think about marketing applied practically within a small business, marketing would start with talking to your prospect audience, collecting information about how they feel about your product, or not just your product. If you haven't launched yet, then you can understand how they feel about the problem, and kind of uncovering or deducing information to uncover what's the problem that we are solving. Are we solving it in the way that we should be solving? And how do we make sure that people understand that we are solving their problem? That's marketing. What's the problem? Are we solving it? Can they understand that we are solving it? That is the core. And everything else builds around that.
This is a dramatic pause on
Oh,
purpose
is it? Okay.
because how many business leaders, product leaders, sales leaders, operations are skipping that step or not even
Oh, yeah.
having marketing involved at all in those conversations until they
Hmm.
say, "Here, promote this, get
Yes,
people to
yes.
buy it,
We need more leads. Everything will be fine. Just bigger logo and more leads.
make the logo pop."
That makes my head pop for sure.
So we've got this whole invisible side of marketing, and I'm guessing a lot of people who are listening who aren't super marketers are thinking, "Oh shit, I've just been doing social media.
Hmm.
Get us on some, event panels. That's
Yeah.
marketing." How do you introduce this invisible side to founders or leaders who've never thought about it before?
Hmm. Hmm. That's a very good question. And this might be a good segue for the next bit as well. But I truly, deeply, firmly believe that we need more marketing literacy in the founder, co-founder, small business arena. Right now, people just skip that step for a couple of reasons. Kind of pinpointed a couple. One is when you're starting your own business, you're kind of focusing on the thing that you want to do, not necessarily how to grow it or how to get your audience. You're kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm going to, you know, launch a I don't know, gardening center. And your mind is kind of focused on gardening, and you kind of don't even know what you don't know. You don't know that there's this entire subset of activities that you should be doing to future proof whatever you're building from collapsing on itself because you haven't had the time or the effort put into making sure that you have your bases covered, right?
Mhm.
So marketing literacy is number one. I think that a big problem is that there's not really a lot of curated resources. That's why I love this podcast and the theme of this podcast, because there's not a lot of curated resources where people can go and know, like, okay, these are the resources that I can trust, and they're going to not necessarily give me the tactics because tactics get all the views. Like, oh, this is how I grew to 16 million in 3 days. Really? No, 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 no. If it sounds too good to be true, it's a lie. But it's kind of also accepting that the growth isn't going to be super fast, right? And giving time. It's kind of like planting the flower, and then you need to water it, and you need to wait for that little green thing to spread up, and you can celebrate then,
Yeah.
right?
First of all, congratulations on making the analogy about the hypothetical business that we're going for.
That's my superpower
You in marketing?
in gardening marketing.
So there are either people online that have been around and they've done the thing, like I
Mhm.
just learned who Hormozy was, and Gary V or other people
Ah,
who,
yeah, yeah.
you know, I'm not the hippest, but they've been doing this forever. So when they
Uh,
say, "Hey, do this one thing," they're nowadays they're
uh,
so big that their tactics or their ideas for you might not fit where you are in
yeah,
your business growth.
yeah,
They already have millions of followers. They already have a lot of money to throw at.
exactly,
So
exactly.
this is dedicated to the folks who aren't, you know, Google and they aren't
Yep.
Coca-Cola. They're
Yep.
here looking to grow.
And
So
also to just say to just cutting a little bit, I would say that if you are looking for inspiration online, I would avoid the big shot names, especially the ones that are passing them not passing this out, but that they are creators because they make money from getting views on their content, whether that content is actually practically applicable to everyday lives or not. So whenever I hear one of these wonderful folks that you mentioned, I mentioned this one thing will change your business, etc. It kind of pisses me off because it's completely misleading. First of all, these people had money in the bank when they started their business. So it's not like mom and pop store or somebody bootstrapping their first SaaS. It's a completely different ball game where they have started and where majority of people are starting. So they're kind of suggesting skipping not one or two steps. They suggest just skipping to the fun part because they need the views, and the boring parts are not going to get the views. You
the
know,
slog,
yeah,
the
Ex-
schlep
the schlep.
through the mud. It's and by that time, we're talking years. We're not saying, "Oh, in
Yes.
6 months." This is the fundamentals you're putting in place today, which could be starting by inviting a marketer to your team or to your
Hmm.
meetings.
Hmm.
That could take years. So, if you're a small company, you said, "Okay, I now understand what marketing is a little bit. I want to bring somebody into the fold." There still might be some hesitation or distrust there.
Hmm.
Where's that coming from?
So this is a big topic and very near and dear to me because I'm currently doing interviews with people who are just like the folks in this audience who have started the business. They're either co-founders or founders of businesses. Most of them are in small and medium sized businesses. And so far the conversations have been really, really good. And I'm not saying really, really good because it brings back the hope that everybody's going to get marketing immediately. Nah, really good because I'm starting to finally, even myself, paint a better picture where this distrust of marketing is coming from and why it happens. So, for context, I went into this whole research thing with an assumption that a lot of the distrust happens because of a misprint of what marketing is. So, when I say misprint of what marketing is, I mean when you just started business and in the first couple of months, maybe a year, you hire a marketer and you hire an agency and you have an experience with it or you have a secondhand experience working close to the executive team in a different company and you see something that's happening that they tell you that is marketing and you have a bad experience with it, then you just think like, okay, so that's marketing. You have a secondhand knowledge of what marketing is essentially. And that misprint can be very damaging because, I've spoken to founders who are just like, I don't trust marketers. I don't like them. I don't trust them, and that's it. And they had a very, very, very strong attitude towards this, like zero curiosity to actually understand it because of that bad experience. Now, the more conversations that I'm having, the more obvious it is that while my initial assumption that this is happening is true, there is something else that it might be even more important. And this is a discovery from yesterday. So my thoughts may not be synthesized perfectly here. But a lot of this distrust comes to down to marketing being a very ambiguous term. And one person told me, a founder of a small company, they're actually doing really well and they're considering scaling in the next year. And he said, I don't know. When you ask me what marketing means to me, I just imagine a cloud. It has no shape. And it just blew my mind. I had to sit back for a minute, take a sip of water, go like, "Oh, I don't even know how to follow up on that." So I asked him to elaborate, and it actually really aligned with what a couple of other people thought is that when you start defining marketing into the tactical part, the visible part that we talked about, that it makes sense. Like, oh, yeah, social media marketing is posting stuff on social media. Content marketing is creating content. So when you start bucketing marketing, that's when people can point and say, like, okay, I kind of understand what this is. But just the term of marketing as a whole is too ambiguous and too large to be understood by somebody who doesn't have necessary training or experience to piece this all together. And that just, yeah, it's still blowing my mind.
This brings up to this cloud of, oh, what is it?
Uh-huh.
How do we, as a founder, I'm thinking, okay, so how do we measure the ROI here? How do I know I'm
Yes.
getting bang for my buck? And those visible pieces, you can say, we got this many leads, we got this many
Uh-huh.
followers, or, put all these attribution models and these ROI KPIs
Uh-huh.
on your visible part of marketing. But this invisible floating cloud side is so important for a company. And there's
Yes.
there's no real way. That's like saying, is HR important?
Exactly. Exactly. I actually consulted with somebody and they asked me the same thing. Like, how do we, okay, we are putting so much time into research. How do we prove ROI? And I said, not failing is a proof of ROI here. I was a little bit savage, but it's true. And I think that a lot of companies struggle with this, understanding that marketing is not a cost center. It's cost of doing business center. So it's not something that you spend and you need to prove that you have an ROI, maybe for some channels, but that's just to measure if the performance of the channels aligns with the expectations. But everything else, the fluffy side of, the the fluffy dark cloud of marketing that happens behind the scenes, behind the heavy curtain, shouldn't even be tried to be proven, right? It's not something that we want to even try. Because if we try to do it, we are dissecting something so complex in so many tiny pieces. It's kind of saying, well, how do I prove ROI on my business planning time? Do you do that? No, and this is exactly the same. This is the twin sister of your business plan.
Yeah.
Sit down and do the invisible side of marketing.
I was vacuuming yesterday and got lost in I try to count to 8 and was thinking, all right, when we measure a product's success, do we say this one button or this one feature is why 300 people just joined in the last month? We don't really do that. We don't put that pressure
Mhm.
on the product side of things. Or, hey, this speed of customer support is why we retained this many customers. Breaking it down that small is super difficult. It's an
Yep.
overall vibe. It's an
Yes.
overall experience.
Yes.
So we're trying to break down these tiny pieces of marketing, and I don't think
Yes.
it's fair.
Yes, it's kind of like judging the book by one weird illustration on page 15, you know?
Yeah.
You shouldn't do it.
This is why you're not a bestseller.
Yes,
Oh
exactly.
gosh.
And just doing the visible side of marketing without the invisible side nailed down is kind of doodling on the pages and thinking that you're creating art. No, you're doodling on the pages.
One of my questions was gonna be, all right, for leaders listening, how do they know they need marketing? We've already kind
Mhm.
of answered that. You need marketing.
You
It's a
need.
cost of doing business. So you need
Yes.
to market your business if you wanna grow
Yes.
somehow, somewhere. How would a leader figure out, okay, so what's the first step in getting marketing for my company?
Yes, that's a very good question. It kind of goes back a little bit to my statement of people needing to be marketing literate, especially in the leadership positions, because it not only helps you do some of these things yourself, which I know in small companies can be a lifesaver, especially if you don't have the budget, but also knowing when's the right time to hire and who to hire and avoiding some very common hiring traps when you're bringing a marketer in. So, marketing literacy is the number one thing. I know that a lot of people are like, no, 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 I'm just good with sales. You really need to understand the basis of marketing. The things that you need to understand is how can you, so for example, if you had to choose three things to do, next week. One is talk to your customers or your prospect audience. And I'm not just saying read what they say on LinkedIn. Schedule a coffee chat with them. Start from there and ask them questions about their problems and how you're solving them. So start kind of peeling the onion. That's something that you, as a founder, co founder, you can do it on your own. What's really important here is that you need to capture the answers. I'm not saying necessarily record them because maybe they don't want to be recorded. But what I am saying is keep track of everything that's being said to you because once you're ready to hire a marketer, that marketer is going to need information basis and it's going to be much faster if you already have something to give to them. The second is to actually think about your business as not an extension of you. That's a very important thing to do. Your business is a separate entity. And if you are considering hiring an agency, bringing a freelancer, bringing in a marketer, you need to let them do their jobs. It's very, very important. The reason is a lot of, especially with micro entrepreneurs, this happens, that they're very emotionally entangled with their business. And while this is super valid, there are some times where you just need to let go of the reins and let the marketer take the lead because they're going to guide you through the next couple of steps to get you to the next letter in the alphabet. You got maybe the business from point A to point B, but now let's think about the C, let's think about the D, and let's think about all the letters of the alphabet. So that's another thing that you can do. And then the third would probably be hire a marketer. One thing that people don't necessarily think about is hiring a marketer who can consult them about who they need to hire for their business. That's actually an option. It's not like a service that many of us would advertise, but I'm sure that if somebody approached you and go like, "Hey, we would love to hire you to help us hire the right person," you would say yes, right? Because
Yes.
we are not the right fit for every business. We know that. But as marketers, we actually have a much better view than you do, especially if you're not marketing literate, on who you need for those next few steps of the alphabet. It's a very, very, very good investment.
I've been hired just to do an audit. Like, "Hey, can you
Yes.
say, like, what we have? Just look online and figure out where everything is,
Yep.
jot it in one place, and then make suggestions on what."
100%.
And I'm like,
That
"Yeah,
that
that's fine."
That's my most popular request that I'm getting as well is kind of can we do audits to the point where I added it on the website like, yeah, we can do audits and here's the cost.
Let's do it. I mean, it's better than just reading it. You can listen to this podcast, you can read articles,
Yes.
but bringing someone in for a few hours or a few weeks is it's worth it. Do it. You'll
Yeah.
save a bunch of time.
100%. 100%.
And when they're looking for a hiring, I've seen two common ways that early stage companies do marketing. They either say, yeah, here's a firm, and it's just the founder kind of helping a marketing firm. And maybe that firm specializes in one thing, but the founder's just like, yeah, that's a firm. They'll do everything. Or they bring in a VP of marketing, or I'm going to bring in a
Oh, yes.
CMO right away, like a full-time person.
Mhm.
So I see these two as the main paths today. I
Mhm.
feel like there's a lot more in between that you could recommend.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, the two things that you mentioned, I would recommend against them. I would. I think that a lot of companies hire full timers too soon. And the reason why I think that is when you are making your first marketing hire, that person is very likely going to do what we just talked about, which is the initial audit and figure out, okay, so what do we have? Where's the audience? Where's the product? How do we figure all these things together? And hopefully, I'm going to come back to this, but hopefully, I'm going to figure out how to make it work. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be the best person to take your company forward in the next year, etc. Luckily, nowadays, you can hire really, really good consultants, really, really good fractional heads, etc. And some could have industry experience, but you don't necessarily need industry experience that early on because the core basis of marketing is the core basis of marketing. It doesn't change according to industry. It's the tactical part that changes, but the core pieces are largely the same. So when you bring in this consultant, they can actually, or consultant or fractional head, or even you can hire somebody full time with an agreement that, for example, you have 6 months, not necessarily trial period. I don't like that word, but hey, we're going to do this as a contract for 6 months. And then afterwards, we can reassess if this is working for you, if this is working for us. And I say this for a couple of reasons. The first reason, what we already talked about, people are not marketing literate and they very often make a really bad first marketing hire, which comes back to bite them in the ass. And the other is that we're in this very weird stage where technology, thanks to AI, continues to develop at a very fast rate. And there are this is impacting not just the tech sector. This has a trickle down effect on everything, including the tactical side of marketing. So I cannot guarantee a company that, hey, if you hire me now, in a year I will still be the right person for you. I can't guarantee that because the market is shifting so fast that maybe a completely different go to market tactic is going to be needed where I and my skill set might not be the right fit. So that's why I'm saying, like, especially now, consider hiring part-time, fractional, or consultants to get you through the first couple of steps. And then what you said about agencies, this is a very particularly true. I would really suggest vetting the agencies very thoroughly before you hiring them. If you can't afford somebody with very strong reputation, safer route is to go to an expert that, for example, you read some of their posts on LinkedIn and they seem like they have their shit together and you go talk to them directly rather than hiring a company that has zero reputation.
Mm.
I know that the appeal of it is kind of like, oh yeah, I can just let them work. They're going to just plug everything in and magically this is going to start generating me leads and I'm happy. But they're going to focus on tactical for one. Most agencies do. There are few agencies that actually do they kind of wrangle the fluffy marketing cloud. And
They're
that's
on the
amazing.
invisible side.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, most founders make this mistake, especially when they're first time in business, just going to specialist agency that helps with SEO or helps with ads, right? It's kind of like, yeah, we're going to throw money onto it and leads are going to just start rolling in. And that's not going to work if you don't have the basis done. So my suggestion is consultant, fractional, contract all the way before you explore any other route.
I'm a huge, well, I have a whole fractional side of my life that I think the future of work is fractional, where you wake up
Mhm.
and you decide, okay, this project's super cool. I'm going to
Yes,
go work with this company. So a fractional person doesn't mean that they're not talented, they couldn't hack it. It's usually
uh-huh.
like someone's super good. I'm talking about myself now, but
Yeah.
someone's super good at what they do and they want to work on cool projects.
Yep.
So they have designed a life where they get to bop in and out of companies at the stage that they love. So find
Exactly.
somebody who's a fractional marketer who loves setting up your marketing, not
Yes.
somebody who's like, hey, I'm a marketer I run teams of 50. I'm used to, you would need somebody down here that's actually tactical as well as,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and you picked a very big scab right there. I think one of the things that just really irk me is that when I see small businesses, especially if you're raising funds, right? So if you're in the type of industry where you're raising funds to take your business to the next level, one of the first marketing hires is going to be like, oh, ex Google, ex Facebook, etc. And ex McKinsey. It doesn't doesn't work because unless they have worked in their positions directly with the size of business that you're in right now in any shape or form, their knowledge and their experience is not necessarily transferable to your case. So they, I've led large teams. The way that I led large teams is completely different than taking the team from 0 to 1, 1 to 2.
Mhm.
It's completely different. And I have a team of 25 here where I go like, hey, yeah, so SEO is handled by somebody. I just need to worry about this vertical. We have a video person, if we have a content team, etc. That's very different when you're talking about one person marketing teams in small businesses, which is very common, or marketing completely being outsourced, which is also very common, or having a small team under, let's say, 10 people, which is also like the third large bucket of SMBs. And the way that you think about marketing, incorporate marketing in your business and run marketing day to day is extremely different in these cases versus I have a team of 25 who are going to do my bidding. And you, as a person who gets hired into team of 0, 1 to 2, or 10, you have to be prepared to roll up your sleeves and actually do the work. And the thing is about all of these ex Google, ex, Microsoft, ex IBM. I love them. I have ex Microsoft in my name too,
Mm.
to it, but it's not in the title. And that's why I can say this. The way that the marketing is done in these big businesses and the amount of actual work day to day that you do is very different in these big businesses versus small businesses. So be careful to hire for your size versus just for the name and reputation.
I'll give you an example. When we were acquired, we were a 50 million-ish company, we were acquired, and then this global company, which was publicly traded, now took over the marketing because everything needed to be checked. We couldn't do a 4th of July post, just like a flag that said "Happy 4th of July" post. We had to run that through legal and HR and the global marketing team. So
Mhm.
that's the that's what a global publicly traded marketing company's like. That's how slow and different it is than I just shot a reel of myself in a parking lot talking about my business and I'm going to post it today and see what happens. Like they're night and day.
Yes. It's a very, very good example. And then the legal goes like, "Ooh, I don't know if we should show fireworks."
The
HR.
flatten's triggering right now.
Yes, and then the HR is like, "I like the family photo, but we may need to rethink that." So yeah, I've been on the receiving end of these.
So let's talk about what marketers can do. We've talked about
Yes.
business owners. Here you go. Here's what marketing is. Here's
Mm,
some red flags, mistakes you can avoid when you're bringing marketing in. If you're a marketer, what can you do to handle this lack of mistrust or lack of understanding
yes.
when you work
Yes.
with business leaders?
It's a very good question because I think that we kind of, well, in some way, we found ourselves in the hole of our own making.
A whole of our own design.
Yes, yes. And the thing here is that what I said first about this mistrust being due to early misprints also comes with baggage because that means that the founders, the co-founders that are now having this distrust or not necessarily understand where marketing fits into their business, they have this misprint because they worked with a marketer that created that misprint. So, as a marketer, we need to accept the responsibility for that, that every interaction that we have with a founder, co founder, or actually whoever in the business is not just an opportunity to do a good job and actually show that marketing is worth something, but our job is now to try and educate people because this is not just making our jobs easier, which it will be or it will. It's also making the probability of these businesses being successful higher, right? Because you're educating them on proper way to think about things, like critical thinking about marketing before all of the tactical things happen. So we have a very critical role here and it's an educational role, not necessarily just strategies. I'm going to create the strategy and go play. Nothing like that. We need to be the educator and we need to be the advocate and we also need to be the devil's advocate. And when I say that, we need to call out bullshit when we see it, especially with marketing, and all of these big people who have like 100,000 followers and are just like, do this one thing. Grr," and then you found out that they started the business with 4 million inherited businesses. It's not it's not fair to businesses, and it's not fair for us to stay quiet about it. So we need to start a little revolution of our own and start pitchforking against these people, because it's really damaging not just us but millions of businesses that are trusting their word. And as marketers, there's also one very important thing. I know I've felt this before. Like I'm going into these conversations after having some bad experiences with founders that I consulted, or even when I worked full time. In some cases where I spoke to senior management, even where I feel pushback on marketing. And my first reaction was kind of annoyance and anger. Why don't you get it? But I think as marketers, we have the opportunity to change the narrative. This is what we do for a living.
Mhm.
We change narratives for a living.
Hearing like we need to market our marketing. We need to market why we should be in these companies.
Exactly. Yes. So we need to change the narrative, and change the narrative in a way where we not necessarily just sell marketing better to companies, but help them understand the benefits of having properly built marketing has on their businesses and the sustainability of their businesses. So for example, when somebody says we are doing marketing, we are doing social media, my reaction is kind of, that's not marketing. I want to shake them, right? But I'm not going to, because I'm a nice person, I well,
Catch me on a
sometimes.
bad day though, I'll shake
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Before coffee, don't say it. Yeah. But what I can say in that situation is, well, actually I really appreciate that we are doing some social media marketing, because I can see some results trickling, and which can inform me on if we are even working with the right audience. But what I would really love to do is actually to understand the audience needs, so we can sanity check if we are communicating the right values to them in the right way through the right channels. So it's, I said the same thing, I just shook them with words, but in a nice way,
Mhm.
because you want to point out that their time is not wasted, even if, whatever you feel about it. And I very often do feel that when they have spent, like, I recently, I think January, spoke to a company. They spent 20,000 per month on social media. Very poor results. And when I asked them why did they do it, they said, "Well, we hired this agency." Boop, misprint, And I knew that this is a painful topic for them, because they spent so much money on it. So instead of saying like, well, that's an amateur rookie mistake, you actually acknowledge that there are advantages to them spending this money, because maybe they haven't proved who the audience is. Maybe they proved who the audience isn't.
Hmm.
You take that information back and go like, well, we thought we were selling this to XYZ type of person, but nobody's buying. What if they don't actually have the need that we assume that they need? And go back to the drawing board and really understand the audience deeper. So, as marketers, we need to find these opportunities to use what we have, reformat it, and steer the conversation in a way where we're not going to be bullish on our ideas. Because I know that when I walk into the room, sometimes people are just going to be like, no, here she comes again.
Got a lot of ideas, a lot
Yeah.
of opinions.
Let's try this, and then unroll the scroll. But be understanding that the lack of understanding isn't malice. It's not malice that I don't trust marketing. It really is just ambiguity matched with this misprint and an unmatched expectations. And we have an opportunity to fix that. So it's kind of like we're walking into an argument that started long before we got there. We have an opportunity to be the diplomats in the room and help people figure it out. So not only you're going to have a better time as a marketer with them, but every single marketer that comes after you is going to have a better time. and the company as a whole is going to have a much better time because they're going to eventually start seeing real results. So yes, that's a spiel on what marketers could do.
That was a super hippie marketer thing to say. Give back.
Mhm.
Think of the marketers that come after you.
Yes, absolutely. Or we will get you, which is a less
Or
happy. But
watch you, will shake you. So we could keep going on. So we could go down so many rabbit holes. I know we're
Ooh,
almost at time. I want to hit you with a few rapid fire.
yes, let's do it.
Okay. The biggest misconception about marketing you would want to change.
Whew, the biggest misconception that is my pet peeve is mistaking promotion, the act of promotion, for marketing itself. Act of promotion is a part of marketing. It is not marketing as a whole. So I would absolutely love to change that.
Advice to new marketers.
Ooh, that's a good one. Learn data. My first advice: learn data, because it's not just about making pretty pictures. It's about understanding what actually can lead to that ultimate sale. And yes, while marketing very often does not lead to direct ROI or cannot be tied necessarily completely to an ROI, it still needs to be the funnel for that following sale. So to make sure that you're doing a good job, you need to understand the data, and even if the company doesn't know how to collect the data, you should know it. That's my first advice. And my second advice is don't accept jobs that are over your head. Just don't. I'm in these groups for marketers, and then sometimes somebody asks an anonymous question like, I've never worked in marketing, but I accepted this client and I'm going to do their social media. Just don't do it. Please do not do it. The reason why people distrust marketing is because they have bad experiences, and they have bad experiences because they hired Maggie from two houses down to do their marketing because she said that she knows how to do it because she's been posting on TikTok. Don't do it. Your personal experiences are limited. It's much better to start small, meaning start working with companies that are either have marketing teams and they're just offloading their work to you if you want to go freelance, or find an in-house job where you can actually learn all of the non-tactical stuff plus the important tactical stuff that you can implement in your day-to-day work.
It's a great advice. If you've never done the invisible as a marketer and you've only done the visible, you need to work with someone who knows those soft skills and
Yes.
how to collaborate with other
Yes.
departments to learn that as invisible side.
Yes, 100%.
All right, final one. Finish this sentence. Growth happens when.
You let the marketing sit at the grown-ups table.
I love it. So, marketing, what I've learned today is marketing literacy. What is marketing? Isn't a nice to have. If you're a business owner or a
Mhm.
leader, you need to understand at least the basics. Hopefully,
Yes.
this podcast helped. And also, it's not negotiable to have somebody or something doing marketing activities for your company. What other takeaways would you want to leave a listener with?
Yes. Consider hiring consultants and fractional folks before you dive into full time marketing hires. So, unless you are marketing literate and you know exactly who you need for your business, right now in 2025, when you're hopefully listening to this, we are facing a very I don't want to say unstable market because the market is actually improving. I want to say very shifty market where you don't know where the market is going to go next. So instead of fully committing to a marriage with a marketer, maybe a few flings along the way is not the bad thing.
It's a lot of frogs, but they could be cute frogs.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And some of them are going to bring you a lot of money. That's what frogs do.
This is what I've always known. So awesome. Well, it was so great to learn from you and hear about your experiences. I appreciate you coming on and sharing with everybody.
Thank you. This was super, super fun. And if anybody has any questions, they can just shoot them over to you or to me, and you can
I'm
find
gonna
me on
link
like,
I'm gonna
yes.
link everything down
Ooh,
below, so they're gonna find you.
ooh. And actually, I might have my, oh, I will hopefully have by the time that this episode goes live. I'm doing just like a 1-pager, 2-pager helper guide on how to hire your first marketer. And I'm doing this as a favor for a friend, but I'll make it pretty and we can share with your audience.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. This was a lot of fun.